Okay. Okay, and this is my lovely assistant, Susan, my wife. She can do anything beekeeping I can do. Okay, so we learn together. Okay, I probably do more of the hands-on stuff just because that's one of my stronger passions. Okay, I do it as a hobby. Okay, I don't do it for money. It's for just for a hobby. I have a biology background. I love anything with nature. Okay, so please feel free to ask questions. Basically, the format of what we're going to do here is it's an hour-long session, and basically, what for the first half hour, we're going to give you basically general information about bees, their habits, what kind of bees there are, what a hive, how a hive is actually constructed. We'll go over the portions of the hive. And some general bee behavior. And then about 2:30, we're going to talk about harvesting and extracting honey, okay? And we actually have a small centrifuge, which is a small scale of how we harvest honey. So we will actually harvest honey. I have a couple of frames of honey that I saved out that we will harvest, and we'll do a tasting, okay? Anything else? Is there anything you guys want that and feel if you can jump in with questions or other things you want me to cover?
Well, you have the different colors there. Obviously, it's from different. That's why I said with the different foods. Like, so what food what primarily the foods are they eating? Just clover? Because I know in Florida they eat like different things too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's totally different. And I've tried even some like my friend is from Florida. They have a sunflower farm, and
Mm-hmm.
they get the sunflower honey, like straight out of these.
Yep. So I actually have that in my presentation. So that's a good question. Hold that off, and if I don't cover it in enough depth, then bring it up again. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I've heard that you should consume honey from the closest area where you live as possible for benefits for allergies and histamines and things of that nature.
That I have a biology background, as I said, I have a biology degree. That is not medically proven. And you're saying, why? Why is he saying that? He sells honey, and he's like, it's not medically proven. I can tell you that I've been selling honey for charity purposes for over 15 years, and 90% of my clients are people who have allergies and come back year after year. So it's not medically proven, but people's who they swear by it. Okay.
We ask people to keep a diary, and they don't. But I said, you should document this. But there are people who call us like clockwork in the spring and say, I gotta have honey, I gotta have it now, because they want it from the local area. People on our street, same thing. So and my view is, if it works for you, great.
And they'll call in the middle of winter when spring is coming and say, I'm out of honey. I need to make sure I get honey from you because you're close to me.
Yeah.
So I hear it all the time.
So it may be a myth.
I can just tell you the clients are right. How about that? Okay. All right. Okay, so let's jump into this. Okay, so this is just a fun presentation. It's basically I use it for all different audiences. Honeybees are fun and friendly, and I asked you what you want to know. If there's anything that you guys are asking great questions, so keep them coming. Who doesn't like honey here? Let's make it easy. Who doesn't like honey? That's what I thought. So that's easy. And the good thing about this is we're going to be doing honey tasting at the end of this. So, and we also plan to have different colors so you can taste the different color honeys. And usually they're different times of the year when the color and from different flowers that they're coming from. That's why they're different colors.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
Can I hop in just before we... just want to give some background on Steve. I probably should have done at the beginning, but it didn't occur to me. We wouldn't have an apiary here without Steve. So Steve really is going after grants. He's done all the beekeeping. I mean, he goes up there and weed whacks when it's 200 degrees. He's in the suit, he's sweating, and throughout the year. He'll come in and treat the bees for, look at them for diseases and stuff and treat it. Steve is amazing, and we
Thank
get
you.
about 150 to 200 pounds of honey yearly for the guests at the pantry, basically because we have have the apiary because of Steve. So just want to give the background on him. He's
Aw.
just
Yeah. Thank you. It's a good cause, and I really believe it. So that's why I passionately treat this apiary with first-class care. All right, now here's a hard one. Who's afraid of bees?
Oh, I am.
There's no wrong answer. Okay. Not too many. Okay. Hopefully you'll learn a lot about bees here, and it'll make you a little more aware and maybe be a little less afraid of bees. Okay. I love doing this type of presentation to kids because I do see a lot of kids who are afraid. It's like, no, you don't have to be afraid. They're not as bad as you think they are, and hopefully they have more respect and not as fearful in the long run. Okay, so why are honeybees important? I learn these facts all the time. They're actually the only insect that provides food to humans. They also are very, very important for pollination to provide this fruit, okay? And I'm told that without the honeybees, we would not be able to have all this fruit and vegetables, okay? So they're very, very, if we did not have honeybees, we would have a serious problem with a lot of the food, fruits and vegetables that we count on. 80% of the pollination of fruits, vegetables, and seed crops in the U.S. is dependent on honeybees. I will say this again, like I said in the beginning, the non-pollinator bees are, in my mind, are just as important as honeybees. Honeybees get all the hype, but please do your best to respect the non-pollinator bees and non-pollinator insects. They're so important, okay? I think without both of them, either one of them, we would be in trouble in our food sources. Okay.
I moved on.
Pardon me?
I moved on.
Yeah, I think you went backwards. There we go. Okay. All right. This is a test. I don't know how well you can see this. It's just on, and it's primarily a test. These are 4 types of bees. Anybody know what type bee this is? Yeah, very correct. What's that?
Can't see it really.
It is a bad picture. That's a honeybee. Okay. Do you know what these two? This is a tough one. I actually had to look at it twice. I believe this one is a carpenter and that one's a bumblebee. A lot of people don't know bees, okay? Paper wasp is also a common bee that people see. They're in those big papery nests that hang out of trees. Sometimes they're in walls or in ground. And yellow jackets too. This time of year is a big problem with them. Okay, but a lot of people just don't know bees. Okay, keep going. Where do honeybees live? So basically, honeybees do not live in the ground. They don't live in teepees. They do live in buildings though. They will go in any little hole. If they find a protected area in a building, they will make up residence in a building. They love trees, and that's typically what they favor, hollow trees. And these are what a honeybee hive from a human being looks like. And that's what the hives at the apiary up there look like. And if you guys want a tour, we can go up there afterwards. I can show you, but it's not really part of this presentation. Okay, go ahead. All right. So what makes up a honeybee family? Okay, there are, for purposes of keeping time and going fast, usually I'll ask people, but I'm going to just tell people. So there are 3 important types of bees in a honeybee colony, okay? And every honeybee colony is made up of those 3 types of bees, and that's right here. This is a queen, and there's usually only one queen in a colony, but not always. Sometimes there are too, okay? This is a worker bee, okay? And a worker bee is a female bee, okay? And this is a drone, and that's a male bee. And if you see a lot of bees like this, it's really hard to tell the difference, okay? But when you have it laid out like this, it's like, oh, that's easy to tell. But when you're in a beehive, and beehives have a lot of bees in them, sometimes it's hard. A good beekeeper can see them, but you guys may not see the difference, okay? So every hive has those. How do they communicate? How do they talk? They talk in two different ways, okay? And they actually, what I find honeybees very interesting is that honeybees actually maintain a democratic family, okay? Decisions are not made by the queen. Okay, a lot of people think that the queen makes all the decisions. It's not true. When they have to make decisions in a hive, just like the United States has to make decisions, they actually it's a democratic society where they vote in their own way on making decisions, okay? And they talk and communicate either by dancing. You've heard about bees and the waggle dance. People hear about that. Waggle dance is typically used to indicate, oh, there's a tree down there that's flowering, has lots of honey. And so they do a certain kind of dance to indicate what direction, how far, and so on. So they do a lot of dances. But bees also have an extremely good sense of smell. Okay, most people probably don't know that. And most of their communication is by pheromones. You may have heard of pheromones before. I think of them as perfumes, okay? So they're different scents that the different types of honeybees can give off. And they actually will give off pheromones to indicate certain things are happening, okay? For one great example, the queen, if you have a mated queen in your hive, she gives off a certain pheromone, okay? And all the bees, and it's actually, they don't have to touch her, all the bees can smell that pheromone, okay? And when they know that they smell that, they think things are good. If she were to be killed accidentally in the hive, or, just killed, within 15 minutes, the whole hive knows, oh my, we lost our queen. We need to make replacement queens. That's within 15 minutes. That word is out. It's scientifically proven. Okay, and that's just from the smell, that one pheromone. And now, I don't know how many. There's hundreds of kinds of pheromones that they do give out. Okay, bees, when they get sick, they have different pheromones that they give out, and there's different pheromones that they don't give out. Okay. That's for not yet. I want to see so that's how they talk primarily. Pheromones, the perfumes, or the waggle dance. Okay. Keep it. That's good. Thank you. So this is a queen. It's really blown up. Okay, but she's larger. Not much. It's hard to tell the difference when you're looking at 30,000 bees all at once. It's hard to see that she's in there. She has shorter wings, okay? And she typically is in the hive her whole life, okay? She mates one time in her life, okay? She will go off on a mating flight right after she hatches, and she will mate with approximately 12 to 15 drones or males. So they actually there's actually certain areas where all the drones from the area hang out, and I think it's like 500 feet in the air, and they wait for virgin queens to come there, and the queen will go there, and she will mate with 12 to 15, okay? And then she will come back to the hive, and then she pretty much is in the hive for the rest of the life, except for one exception if the hive swarms, okay? As I said, there's one per colony, but once in a while there's two. I did have a hive last year that had two. She lays eggs from February to December. In the middle of winter, they know spring is coming, and they start laying eggs typically the end of January. Believe it or not, honeybees know that they're active all the year. She takes from egg to hatching. It takes 16 days for a queen to hatch. Okay, that's important because each type of bee takes different times to hatch. Okay, she is not the decision maker in the hive. Okay, the colony is the decision maker. Okay, the drone. Okay, this is a drone right here. We call them, you can tell them by their Google eyes. They're a little chubbier and they're bigger than the worker bee. This is a worker bee. That's a drone. 15, okay, the only thing the drones do, and I don't want to hear any negative comments, the only thing the males do in the hive is mate. They don't do anything else in the hive. Okay, believe it or not. Pardon me?
We moved on.
Oh, no, we're not done. Go back. Okay, no, to drone, yeah. So they mate with the queen. When they do mate, those bees die, okay? They are kicked out of the hive. All the drones are kicked out of the hive in October. And that's because they don't do anything but mate, and there's no mating going on in the hive until early April. So they save the food resources because they're just a waste of resources. They're kicked out, okay? And they're only 15% of the bee population, okay? Now you can go to the workers.
I'm there.
Okay, the worker bee. Most of the bees that you see are all worker bees. They're slightly smaller. They're only females, okay? They're all females. They're 85% of the population. They do all the work. I mean, all the work. Make food, build a comb, raise young. And the workers as a group are the ones who make any decisions that have to be. And for decisions, you're like, well, what kind of decisions do bees have to make? Okay, one of the things that bees do in the spring is they'll swarm. They'll actually, they reach a maximum population and they want to spread out and make another hive. That's how they reproduce and have bigger populations. They, in the springtime, they will decide, hey, it's time we got to swarm. And when they've reached that decision by certain ages of bees, worker bees talking, I don't know if it's pheromones or dances, they will say it's time to get ready for the swarm, and they'll start allocating. Certain bees are scouts that start looking for trees or places to start another nest in. Okay, those scouts go out and they come back, and the scouts come back and do dances. I do know they do dances, and they're saying, oh, I saw this great tree and it's got this much an opening. I think it's really good. And the scouts come back and report the trees that they find. And the worker bees as a whole finally decide where they're going to move on to when they actually decide to swarm. And when a hive swarms, half the hive leaves. Half the worker bees, half the drones, and the original queen leaves. And in advance, they lay like 6 to 8 queen eggs in advance to replace that queen. But this is all coordinated, okay? It's a very good question. 6 to 8.
So what will they do with the rest?
Oh, a very good question. So Mother Nature is really good at being prepared for handling the worst situation. So they have contingency. So what happens is there's 6 to 8 queens, and let's say those 6 to 8 queen cells that they make, and they swarm, and those 6 to 8 start hatching. The first queen will hatch, okay? And she will actually start looking for the other queens if they hatch, and they'll kill each other, okay? So basically, but let's say that first queen, so let's say half of the eggs didn't hatch, they have backup. They're for backup, okay? And they actually, when they go off on their mating flight, if they don't come back, those queens that didn't hatch, hopefully they're hatching then, they're back up for the original one that went out to mate. So they're back up, but the queens will kill each other for the ones that survive. Okay?
How's there two then?
Pardon me?
How do you get two every once in a while then?
How do you get what?
How do you get two?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's proven. It's very rare, but it does happen. I saw it happen in my hive last year. I think it's just two of the queen cells hatched and they got along. Don't know the answer to that. Question.
Who lays the queen eggs?
So a queen egg is laid when that pheromone is not given anymore by the queen. The workers, and it's actually the younger workers. The workers, as they age, actually get different job responsibilities. Believe it or not. So workers in their first 2 weeks, approximately, they are called nurse bees, and they take care of eggs and raising the young and feeding the larvae. Okay. After 2 weeks, they become foragers, and they actually go out and look for food. Okay, they stop being nurse bees and they turn into foragers. Okay, and then after those 2 weeks, they actually become guard bees and they're at the entrances. But so as soon as that pheromone's gone, the nurse bees will know something's wrong and they will make queen cells out of 6 to 8 cells, and they give them a special food treatment. You've heard of royal jelly, and a special version of royal jelly. And they're bigger cells, and they basically take extra special care and extra special food, and they turn into queens as a result. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
How long does it typically a bee live? How long do they live?
Oh, good question. A worker bee in the summertime lives for about 6 weeks. Okay, and I believe a drone as well. I believe a drone is as well. Okay, now bees actually, they will feed the bees different food depending on the season. And you're saying, well, if they only live like 6 weeks, how do they live through the wintertime? Okay, so in the late fall, they actually start raising and growing winter bees. Okay, and winter bees can live for several months. Okay, so that's how they make it from the fall to the spring with the winter bees. A queen can live approximately 1 to 5 years. I would say the average for a queen is 1 to 2 years. Okay, but they can live 1 to 5. It's hard to tell because a lot of times they'll swarm. Like my bees will swarm and I don't see that queen again. Okay, and but once in a while they won't swarm, and I'll see her. We actually beekeepers mark their queens. We put little dots on them. So I get sometimes
Really do that? I mean, like every
all the time. I do it. I do it. It's because when I'm mucking around in the hive, I have to do maintenance. Okay, and I don't want to accidentally. And I'm doing maintenance on a regular basis. And if I know where the queen is, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be careful with that frame of bees. I'll just put it to the side while I'm working, and then I'll put that in late, and I make sure I don't squish it. Yeah, for most of mine, sometimes it's a trouble to find her, and I don't go out of my way to find her and mark her. But yeah, Emma's marked a few. Didn't you mark a queen?
I was there when
Okay, I try to teach my guys all
need to
that how
move
to
on.
mark. Go ahead.
What do you mark the queen with?
With a paint pen. Okay, so we have special tools actually to capture them, and this is my hive jacket. Okay, I have everything I need to when I'm in a bee yard to do when I'm working in there, pretty much for whatever happens. So this is actually a paint pen. Okay, and it has a fine tip on it, and we just put a little dot. And I think you'll see if you go back to the queen, there was one actually she had a decal, I believe. Oh, no, she's not marked. I thought, well, go to the prior one. Yeah, so this one's marked. It pretty much looks like that. Yeah, good questions.
Well, the other reason you want to mark a queen is that if you are overwintering your hives and you mark the queen, say, in the summer, and then you go back in the spring, one, it's easy to see, and two, you know that it's the same queen. Sometimes the hive will requeen and you weren't aware of it, and then you see the queen and you don't see the one that you marked, so you know it's got a new queen. So it's professional beekeepers, which we are not, professional beekeepers use a coding system so that in 2025 they use white, in 2026 they'll use red, in 2027 they'll use blue, so that there's a different color dot that they're putting on the queens so that you know how old the queen is. But we do it mostly so that you can quickly identify the queen and protect her if she needs, you know, so that she doesn't get dropped out of the hive when you're doing maintenance and that kind of thing. So, all right, you ready?
No, yeah. I think we finished that. Yeah, go ahead. And so you were asking, so this is one, so there's different tools to capture queens, okay? And this is my favorite tool. I call it the crack pipe. It's just a
Lovely.
Basically, it's a clear plastic tube with an opening on both ends, okay? And so the queen's going to be walking on those frames, and there's going to be 50 bees there, and she's walking slowly, and I got to get her and then not get the others. So I can see her through this, and I can get her through that hole, and I stick my hand over her, and then she's in there, and then actually I open this end, and I actually put her through another instrument where it holds her and it's still, and I can put a dot on her, okay?
That's really cool.
There's all different kinds. And I'm just putting this on just to show you some of the gear that we do wear. And you're welcome to ask questions about my gear as I put it on. Okay? So what do bees eat? So pretty much they're very dependent on water. They're very dependent on pollen and nectar from trees and flowers. In the springtime, I think it was you who had asked the question. In the springtime, based on the time of the spring, they love certain flowering trees. So beekeepers, good beekeepers, know their trees and know their plants very, very well. So the first thing they love to go after is red maples. I don't know if you know that red maples have flowers, but they're tiny flowers. And typically it's in, I'd say middle of March, they start blooming, okay? And you can actually tell, if you're a good beekeeper, you can actually see, oh man, my bees are feeding and they're starting to store honey, okay? And then they'll switch from some of their favorites, and I don't know all of them, but they'll go from red maples to catalpas to tulip poplars. Tulip poplars are a really big favorite food around here. We have a lot of tulip poplars. Geez, what are all the other ones?
Magnolias.
Pardon me?
Magnolias.
Magnolias. Actually, basswoods. You have a nice basswood here. I just noticed that. They love basswoods, and basswoods are one of the last trees to bloom in the spring. Okay, so in the springtime, there's called a nectar flow, and they got more food and more pollen than they know what to do with. Okay, so it's like a buffet for 3 months, and then the trees slowly stop blooming. And in the summer, we say it goes into a dearth. There's actually not a lot of food out there for the bees. Yes, you got lots of roses and lots of petunias and stuff, but they don't really get nectar and pollen from most of those flowers. There's only certain ones that they like in the summertime. So they actually get very protective this time of year. Bees may rob, a colony may try to rob from the other hive if it can smell the honey in that one, because it is there's not a lot of food. And then just let me finish it, I'll get you. Then in the fall, luckily around here in the fall, we have a small nectar flow, believe it or not, where all the other places around us there's not a very good nectar flow, and the bees, they have to feed them or they'll starve. We have Japanese knotweed, which is an invasive plant that grows along the creeks. It's a white flower. Goldenrod, and what's the third one? Clover. Okay. So that's pretty much that was a question you had asked about what do they eat. You had a question.
Yeah, so like in my garden and everything, I noticed
They love
Lots of
cucumber
flowers.
flowers.
I will go over there, to, water and everything, and literally, like, I had to, like, and there's like two different types of bees there, and they're fighting, like, they're like, ah, like,
Wow.
I'm like, okay, and then when I went to go water, and I have to, like, wait for a certain time, because the bees literally raised up, like, they raised up to me, went to my face, were buzzing in my face, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, like, they thought I was gonna take away their food. Or they thought, like, because I tried to prune the plants, and they thought I was gonna take away their food, and they got really in my face. I was like, all right, and then they settled right back down. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna take your food, but they were really, like you said, they were really protective of the food and against other bees too.
Yeah, I've never seen that behavior. Usually they're because I have a lot of cucumbers I grow.
Yeah.
One thing, if you do have bees buzzing you, I would typically just stand still.
Yeah.
Normally yellow jackets, I know it's hard to stand when there's a yellow jacket or a paper wasp around you buzzing your face, but just stand still, and usually after a while, or a honeybee, they'll go away normally.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
do. I just stand still, and they just
Okay.
go back.
And the one thing I should insert here, because we got to get it to extraction. There's a couple more slides, and
You're at the halfway point.
I'm at the halfway point. So honeybees are very unusual. I don't know, does anybody know the difference about honeybees and wasps and yellow jackets and stinging?
Honeybees have a barb on their tail, wasp has a straight lance.
And
Bees die after they sting you, and wasps do not.
nope, this
I was gonna say honeybees die and then wasps don't.
that's correct. So honeybees can only, so
That's what she
honeybees
said.
are known as docile bees, and they're less, I call them less nastier and less protective, because a honeybee will die when it stings you, okay? It pulls out actually the stinger organ and the poison organ, and it will die. All other bees, wasps and yellow jackets, can sting you any number of times, and that's because they don't have barbs either. So honeybees are pretty cool. They're only gonna be protective when they really have to. Okay.
And do they know that they will die? I mean, like,
Instinctually, I gotta believe they do.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
instinctually.
But
Yeah.
they do release a pheromone when they sting you.
Oh yeah.
They release a pheromone, so we're really careful. I'm really careful when I'm harvesting, when we get to the extraction piece, not to get stung, because you're going to be doing this all day. And if you get stung, they release a pheromone, and other bees are alerted that you are a danger. So there is truth to the fact that if you're stung, you could get stung by other bees, because that bee is alerting them that you're a problem. So
Or
they will.
if you kill one, the pheromones
Mhm.
release and they
Yep.
brings other bees
Yep.
to come.
Exactly
Yep.
that.
Do you have a question?
I don't have a question, but one in my school, they said like when you step on a bee, it like stings you.
If you step on a bee and you have a bare foot, it will sting you.
Well, or it could sting you.
It could sting you. That's actually typically how I get stung most often. I'm taking off my bee suit and there's a bee on my sleeve and I'm pulling my sleeve and I don't realize it. So it will sting you if it can accidentally, just because you're stepping on it in defense.
Also, when you beekeep, you have to stay calm, or else the bees will know that you're like trying to kill them or something, and then they'll sting you.
So you're absolutely right. When you're working in a beehive, you should move slowly. Okay, they do not like fast movement. Okay, you definitely, and they know it. Oh, trust me, they will know it. If you go into a beehive and you swing your arm over right away real fast, you will hear, a good beekeeper can understand what the sound and what they're making. And they're like mad right away. Okay, so you want to go slow and what have you. Now, I wear my bee equipment because I have like 13 hives that I'm managing and I got to get things done. So I don't go as slow as I do. and I might get them a little mad, but I wear my equipment. But if I went slow and was careful, I wouldn't have to wear my equipment, and I would only get stung once in a
And
while.
also you would get stung like probably a lot of
Yep, yep, that's right.
So sometimes you see bees on a person and they're
Yeah.
not hurting them.
Yep.
What is that all about?
So, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I haven't seen. Okay, so basically, they're mimicking a hive swarming. Okay, and they put a swarm a pheromone, a synthetic pheromone on the bee, and they'll get the queen. So when they're ready to swarm or whatever, they'll put the queen on there. Okay, and the queen will give out the pheromone, and all the worker bees, they think, okay, this is where we're going to swarm right now, and they'll just all go on her and hang on him or her for that period of time. When bees are swarming, they're actually quite docile. Because swarming is when they're actually building a new house in a new tree or whatever, and they're very, very docile. As a new beekeeper, they tell you your first swarm, you should do it without equipment on because you're very unlikely to get stung, although you typically do. But so they're
Will they bring them to a new place to have a hive, or?
well, they're doing it just as a demonstration.
Okay.
So when it's done, they'll take the queen off. Okay, and if you get the queen, okay, they'll smell her. And wherever you put that queen, all the bees will go there, okay? And it's amazing when we catch swarms, you could tell when you catch the queen because you might see a big swarm of like a big group of a mass of bees this big, okay? And you shake them into a box and you put them into a hive, but you're not, and a lot of the bees still are up there. You can tell right away if you got the queen right away because if she's down in that box, you'll see a parade of bees. They're all going right down there. They're like, and you'll see the worker bees in that box. They're flapping and putting out a pheromone saying, she's here, she's here. It's another pheromone that they do. So they use pheromones for a million different things. Did I answer your questions?
Steve, you should probably go to what's a hive.
Okay, let me answer this question, and we're going to go to what the hive.
I was just wondering, after all these years, does it still hurt when you get stung?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. You just know you're going to get stung. It's not that bad. You just get used to it. Okay, but
And
yes,
to
it
treat
does
it,
hurt.
we generally use, Steve does nothing. I usually make sure that the stinger's out, and I might rub it with some alcohol just to dissipate any pheromones that might be around, and then you move on with your day.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. That's what we do.
Any other?
No.
Pardon me?
I've heard that you could use ice, and even today, we were listening to a podcast on the way here, they were saying, if you put honey on your itching or your cuts and things, that honey is a good.
It's antibacterial. You can buy Band-Aids with honey on them in the store.
But we do, I mean, to be fair, we do keep, neither one of us have an allergy to bees, but we do keep EpiPens on site so that if anybody were to be stung, if they're working on the hives or a friend is over and they're doing something in the yard, we do keep EpiPens on site just in case, because it's not so much the sting. The sting, you're kind of like a beekeeper, you expect it, but you don't want an allergic reaction and you don't want anyone else to have an allergic reaction, so. Okay, what's a hive? This is what a hive looks like.
All right. Just let me tie my shoe before I trip. And we'll go over what a hive looks like. So this is your, this is a typical hive, the typical components of a hive. This is a hive during the height of springtime after the honey flow has been going for a while, okay? And I'll tell you why it's so tall in a minute, okay? So a hive, and normally they're made out of wood. They're now making them out of plastic. Basically, what you have is you have a flat wood called the bottom board, and that's actually where the bees typically land, the landing board. They're coming back from their flights, they'll land on the end. And then a hive is made up of many of these boxes. So this is a box, and that looks pretty much the same. And if you can see, this one has 9 boxes. They have 9 boxes. And this is what the box looks like. You guys are welcome to come up if you can't see. Okay, but just be careful because with those honey frames.
Right.
Okay, a box is full of,
Frames.
so a box of, these are called frames. And let me just get this one if I can. And this one's going. So a box is full of frames, okay? And this is a brand new frame that has never been in a hive before, okay? And what it is, it's actually wood on the outside. This is black plastic, and the black plastic is coated with beeswax, okay? And if you guys can pass it around, it actually has indentations that actually are basically the size of the honeycomb for a worker bee, okay? So if I have a new hive, I will put new frames in it like that, okay? And the bees will basically, that's not, you're going ahead, but that you'll actually, the bees will, let me give them just a drawn frame. Second. Okay. So bees glue everything together. Everything together with propolis. So you may have heard of the thing called propolis. Propolis is a glue. It's made out of secretions from the plants, and they convert that to a glue. And they glue everything down, and they glue all the boxes together so that they're waterproof and windproof. Okay, so I have to use my metal hive tool to break things apart. Okay, so this frame was glued in. So they'll take that frame, and they'll do what we call drawing out the comb. So depending on the stage of the bees and where they're at, they actually will build honeycomb on the outside, both sides. So this is actually, they've converted that one to a fully drawn frame, so you can pass this around, okay? And the honeycomb has 2 purposes. Depending on where the frame is, if it's on the bottom part of the frame where they typically lay their eggs and raise their young, the queen will lay an egg in each one of those cells. Each one of those openings is a cell. And they'll raise the bee in there through the 3 stages of the bee life cycle: egg, larva, metamorphosis stage is sort of like a caterpillar. It goes in and it's a cap cell, and then it hatches. Okay, so that's drawn comb. Here's a sample. When they don't have the frame, they like to make honeycomb all over the hive. So this is just straight honeycomb where they had room, but they said, hey, I wish I had a frame here. And they'll make the comb, okay? So depending on where the box is, if it's on the bottom, we call it the brood box. And that's where as I said, they lay their eggs and raise a young. And in a tree, if it's high up, that's where they store the honey. Now we fake out and make the colony look like a tree by segregating the boxes. So I will have this hive right here actually has 3 boxes right here. Okay, and if you see right here, there's actually a thicker line between the 3rd and the 4th box. And that is basically, there's a queen excluder. That person has a special mesh that is between the 3rd and the 4th box, and the worker bees and the drones can fit through and go to the top, but the queen can't. So he or she is keeping the queen down here and letting them raise their young here, and he's leaving all these boxes for them to fill out.
For honey.
So that's Susan's trying to say. So we're going to extract these 2 frames. So these 2 frames are full frames of honey that I took out of one of the hives this week, and we're going to extract that here, okay, and test it, okay. But as spring goes, in the beginning of spring, when winter's almost over, we actually take all these boxes off in the wintertime. But then when your first local trees start blooming, like the red maples here, you start putting on a box. And depending on the nectar flow, if they fill that up when it's 75% full, we put on another box. And we'll keep putting on boxes depending on how much the bees store. We had some bees here this summer that just was knocking the socks off of making honey. And I had a hive eight boxes high, and which I don't like because they're like 50 pounds, and you got to lift them off the hive, and they're full of bees, okay? And they're 50 pounds, and you got to lift them off and bring them down. And one of the hives that we had here, actually, it built up 3 times. We did 3 harvests off of it. And it actually had 4 full honey boxes each time I harvested. So that one hive, 3 times 4, 12 boxes of honey, which is a lot. Okay. Okay. And then we'll have a cover.
Yes.
Okay.
How many bottles of honey would 12 boxes get?
That's tough. So I would say a box of honey, I'd say a box weighs about 50. That's with the wood. And a box without the wood would be about 40 pounds of honey.
So it will be 40 of these, approximately.
One whole box.
The box, you're saying that, yeah.
Yep.
No, the 12 boxes would be
No, so one box would
40.
be 40
so
of
40
these.
of these per box.
So that hive did 12 times 40. Now that's exceptional. That's not your normal. Okay, that's not your normal.
When the box, the frame is drawn out and you extract honey, after that, do you clean that frame or do you just leave it as is?
Good question. Good question. That's part of my talk, but we'll say it now. So basically when you extract, you'll extract and you'll get most of the honey out, but it's still wet with honey because it's a liquid, okay? So as soon as I'm done extracting, depending on the time of year, if it's still springtime and there's lots of trees blooming, I will put that box of wet frames, we call them, right back into the hive. Okay, they will have all of those frames perfectly clean in a day. Wow. They will actually, and also when we extract, we actually cut the comb. We cut the comb so we can get the honey easier. So we'll actually destroy a part of it. They will have it. They will have it prepared like it's new and clean in a day.
So this frame has been extracted.
3 times this year.
So we cut the comb, and I'll show you how to do that in just a couple of minutes. So I would cut this on both sides so that because like any good thing that you're keeping for a long period of time, there's a cap on it. So there's a wax cap on here. As you can see on the frames, it's wax on top holding the honey in. I cut that away on both sides, and then you extract the honey. And when you pull it back out of the extractor, the honey's down in the bottom, and this is kind of sticky and sloppy. And we just stick it back into the hive box, and the bees will clean this whole thing up. They will chew this so that it's flatter and clean it all up, and they'll take the residual honey and restore it in their hive. So they use everything again.
So you don't take the wax to make candles then?
Well, that's a great question. Yes. The part that I cut away, I use because I don't want to waste it. But the part that's here that they can still use, we try to put that back into the hive because it takes a lot of energy and effort for the bees to build the wax to begin with. So you can preserve as much of the wax as you can. But the stuff that they can't use, I do clean it, and I do make candles and stuff out of it. I do.
How do you get bee pollen from how do you get the bee pollen is what I'm saying?
I don't.
You put little scrapers. They're little scrapers on the entrance, and they brush against it when they're going in and out. It scrapes their legs and knocks the pollen off the bee basket, off the pollen basket. Typically, they won't take all the pollen because pollen is essential for raising bees. You cannot, it is their protein source. So they cannot raise larvae without the pollen. Okay, so they only take a portion of it.
So we personally don't produce
No.
bee pollen. No.
Just a time check, Steve, we're at 2:55.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got to move along.
Maybe let's hold questions to the end. or-
Sure.
Why don't we just move on to extraction?
Okay, so I just want to tell one more interesting thing. So when we're getting ready for extraction, so depending on the time of year, most beekeepers only harvest once a spring in around the end of June, July. I actually raise bees, so they're actually very productive. I harvested 3 times already this year. Okay, so when you're getting ready to harvest, it's a lot of work. And you say, how do you get all the bees out of those boxes so you can take them to where you're harvesting? Because there's tens of thousands of bees on there, and you don't want to be them hanging around you. So when the 2 days before we go to harvest, we trick the bees, okay? And we put what's called a bee escape on. So we'll put this bee escape on, and if this guy was harvesting this hive, and these are all honey supers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would actually take these boxes off temporarily and then put this bee escape on the bottom, okay, between the 3rd and the 4th box, okay? And what happens is he leaves it on for 2 days, and the bees go off and continue foraging, and they walk through, and as you can see, there's a screen with a special pattern here, okay? And there's a hole on the top. Okay, so the bees go their normal foraging. They walk down. They have to go through this hole. They go through the maze, and they go off and go to the flowers, and they come back and they try to go up. They can't figure out this maze, so they can't go back up in those 2 days because they can't figure out that it's a puzzle. So at the end of 2 days, we take the boxes off, and they're pretty much, as long as you're done, sometimes the bees will say, but most of the time it's bee-less in there. And you just take the boxes off, and you take them to where your harvesting location's going to be. Okay, so it's a lot of work because, again, each box weighs about 50 pounds, so you had to take them all off, put them back on, and you're raising them up high, but that's what you do when you're getting ready to harvest. And so we take that, then we'll take the boxes of, these will be full, all the frames will be full of honey, and we'll take them to our garage and we harvest in our garage. And I don't know if you can see, should we have everybody just stand up and come up here and watch?
Well, let me get this started first, and you can continue chatting if you'd like.
Okay.
Or I can talk.
Do you want to talk?
So basically what happens is when we're harvesting, Steve brings in all these boxes that are full of honey, and I will show this to you.
I'm going to walk this around.
Okay.
This is actually what this is.
It would be too cold in this room to harvest honey, just to tell you.
And it's plastic. It's capped with honey, so there's capping on wax on the end. Anybody have any idea why it's capped with wax? Go ahead. No, good question. No, it'll stay in. Pardon me? No. They keep what? No, this is only honey. This is 100% honey.
So the water doesn't go in?
Pardon me?
Water doesn't go in?
No, but well, the guard bees will stop them. There's guard bees at every entrance, and they'll sting it to death. Do you know?
Prevent ants?
No. Yes, in a way, but that's not really their main intention. Okay. Pardon me?
Like water, so that the water doesn't go in.
No. Believe it or not, and this is what honeybees are so smart. Okay, so as I said before, in the summertime, there's less and less flowers around for them to feed on. And now they're in a nectar dearth. So there's not really a lot of food for them out there. Okay, so they've stored up honey in their hives And certain hives have a lot of honey and certain hives don't have a lot. But if they cap it, the hive next door can't smell it. So they're basically making it so the hives can't smell it. Okay? So that's probably the only time the honeybees will try to go into another hive. It will try to rob it. And you'll see them. They'll come in and like en masse and they'll like try to attack that hive and try to get in there. But if they've capped them, and they don't cap in the springtime. Okay, they don't really try hard. Oh, I'm sorry. So in the springtime, when there's more food than they can stand, they don't rush to cap it. But they try to cap everything really good now, so the local bees and yellow jackets and wasps don't attack them. So Susan's extracting. So we're going through the extraction process.
So I'm dressed exactly like I would be dressed if I were extracting, and we would do it in a very hot garage. This would be too warm in here to extract. We would have turned off any air conditioning.
Too cool.
Or it's too cool, rather, right? It's hot. It's usually in the 80s to 90s. The warmer, the better, because and I'm not looking at you because I'm watching my knife here. We take a very large knife and I cut this comb away, this bit of wax, and I try to do it as gently as possible, taking just a little bit of the wax, capping, so that we can expose the honey. This one's done, Stevie, when you're ready.
Yep.
And I usually wear long pants, even though it's 90 degrees, long pants, shoes with socks, because sometimes a bee gets in there.
So all the cappings have been taken off. Go ahead.
And they escape, and they're kind of mad that I've got their honey in tow. Oh, yeah. So you don't want to, I mean, I'm really focused on the knife and the wax, so we don't really want to be focused on trying to, keep a bee away from me if he's...
Okay.
I do.
Okay,
So
you guys see it?
I'm going to show
All right.
you, this is we'll show you the extraction process, and
That's
I'll
honey.
show you what I do with the honey.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
the
sorry.
wax.
Okay. Ooh. Sorry.
We do separate, we keep the wax
I'm getting in
cappings,
trouble.
and we let it drain off until, for a couple days, until the wax separates from the honey, and then we bottle the honey and we clean the wax. So this is kind of what I'm doing. I use the knife. If I can't get everything with the knife, I use this little handy scraper. And I just scrape it down a little bit to make sure that I'm opening all of the cells where the honey's stored. And you can see there's wax and honey coming off of there. And then I flip it over, and I'm going to do it on the side, the same thing on this side. Okay, this is a little bit high, not that tall.
Hey there.
Oh, that would be...
Come on out there so you can test the honey.
I would think you would have a special tool that would just cut that.
Well, the knife is the best. There are lots of different ways to do it. I have a double-edged knife that I use. It's a little bit stiffer than this one. You kind of, after all these years, I kind of figure out what works well for me. And I have a stand that's exactly the right height, and I can do a frame, two-sided frame in under a minute. Wow. Because we're going to be at this. A lot of times we are harvesting 10 boxes at a time.
20 boxes.
10 to 20. So there's 10
20
frames.
times 10. So we're doing 200 frames on the hottest day we can find. And then we pick a hot day because the honey flows. I'm sorry, Susan. The honey flows better. So it comes out of the comb. Honey gets thick when it's cold out. But when it's warm, it really flows. So we'll pick the hottest day to do it. Okay?
So what do you do in the wintertime if you're harvesting?
It's actually the slowest time. But I was going to bring this up. It's a good thing. I don't want to interrupt you too much. But so do people know what bees do in the wintertime? Honeybees?
Sleep. They hibernate. Hibernate? Their wings go really fast and pretty spooky.
You're pretty close. So honeybees, so all bees and all wasps, except for honeybees, die and the queen lives. But honeybees are the only bee, they are actually up and awake all winter long. And they're like, unfortunately, this is a rental extractor, but it shows you, it's a centrifuge, okay? And you guys are welcome to go up if you can't see. And so it's using centrifugal force for the honey to come out of the uncapped honey, okay? If you go to my house, I have a big one and it's mechanized and it spins really fast, okay? And I can get 9 frames in there at once.
It's jammed.
Oh no, don't break it.
But you can see where we were spinning it. See, the honey came out of the frames.
Where's it, Jay?
It will crystallize, and you need to do some. But I gave him some, and that's what he made. With honey.
Learning more about beekeeping, if this is something that you want to learn more about, maybe get some hives of your own, Steve has some resources to pass on.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about beekeeping or you want to start beekeeping, there's 2 clubs in the area. One's Montgomery, you can find they have a Facebook page and a website, Montgomery County Beekeepers Association and Chester County Beekeepers Association. And they give classes all through the winter, and so that when spring comes, they teach you everything you know, what you should buy, and are pretty prepared for raising your own bees. We also have, as part of that, we have a mentor program, an apprentice program, which I teach a lot of people as mentor. I have mentees or apprentices that I just enjoy teaching. Okay,
That's
so
what I do with
really
the
good
wax.
programs if you want to learn more.
We let it drip.